In the final decade of his life, Michael Jackson gave an interview that revealed something deeply personal. He said, "I don't want to grow old. I'd never want to look in the mirror and see that." This was not a casual comment. It was a window into one of the most persistent anxieties that shaped his later years. He viewed aging as the ugliest thing, stating that when the body breaks down and wrinkles appear, it is so bad. For a man who had been in the public eye since the age of 8, whose face had been scrutinized by billions, the prospect of losing his youthful appearance was, in his own words, horrifying. He told his friend and advisor, Rabbi Shmuley Botich, that he wanted to disappear, to be seen no more. "I don't want my picture to be seen now," he said. "When my picture came up on the computer, it made me sick. I'm like a lizard. It is horrible. I never like it. I wish I could never be photographed or seen." This is not the language of a man comfortable with his own face. It is the language of deep-seated shame. Rabbi Botich later told NBC television, "He lost the will to live. I think he was just going through the motions of life toward the end." To understand why Michael Jackson could not accept aging, we must start at the very beginning. Michael Jackson never had a normal childhood. He was thrust onto the world stage at an age when most children are still learning their ABCs. His father, Joe Jackson, was reportedly physically and emotionally abusive, subjecting Michael to harsh discipline that left psychological scars that lasted a lifetime. Psychological studies show that adverse childhood experiences significantly increase lifetime risk of mental illness. He was rough. The way he would beat you, was hard, Michael recalled in recorded conversations with Rabbi Botich, released after his death. He would make you strip nude first. He would oil you down. It would be a whole ritual. He would oil you down so when the flip of an ironing cord hit you, and it was just like me dying, and you had whips all over your face, your back, everywhere. He even admitted that he was still scared of my father to this day, saying, "My father walked in the room, and God knows I'm telling the truth. I have fainted in his presence many times." This trauma would profoundly shape his adult psyche. The impact of this abuse extended beyond the physical. It created a deep sense of self-loathing that would manifest in numerous ways throughout his life. He admitted to teasing his sister Janet when she had put on weight, calling her a fat cow. "I was bad," he said. "I would tease her to make her lose weight. I didn't like it on her. I said, 'You have to lose weight because you look like a fat cow.' I was determined to make my sister look good because I love her and I wanted to make her shine." So, how did Michael Jackson cope with his fear of aging and his deep-seated shame? By becoming Peter Pan. He transformed his home in California into Neverland Ranch, complete with amusement, park rides, a zoo, and a private theater. He styled himself as the boy who never grew up. In his own words, he felt he was only 4 years old. The press labeled this Peter Pan syndrome, a pop psychology condition referring to an adult who does not want to engage with the world as an adult, but rather remain in a state of childlike innocence. He said, "I totally identify with Peter Pan, the lost boy from Never Never Land." His fixation on childhood wasn't just about reliving a lost youth. It was a rebellion against the very concept of growing up and the physical decay that came with it. He told Botich, "People say that growing old is beautiful. I disagree. I don't want to look old and start forgetting. I want to always be youthful and have the energy to run around and play hide and seek, which is one of my favorite games." The story he told repeatedly throughout his life was that he was working away at a recording studio, and he looked across the street and saw kids playing, and he just yearned to be with them rather than doing the thing he was doing. It was something that plagued him, got under his skin, troubled him throughout his life. This diagnosis is widely accepted by psychologists. Research on the psychological impact of childhood fame and shows that accelerated mental development can slow down social and emotional growth, resulting in a lopsided and maladjusted individual. Forensic psychologist Stan Katz evaluated Jackson during the 2003 allegations and concluded that Jackson had suffered age regression and was mentally functioning at the level of a 10-year-old. He noted that the individual acts like a child and does the same things that a 10-year-old child would do. His desire to remain young and to avoid aging did not manifest only in psychological or lifestyle choices. It manifested in his physical appearance. Michael Jackson's evolving face became one of the most analyzed subjects in pop culture history. He is estimated to have undergone between 4 to 10 cosmetic procedures on his nose alone. Experts have identified signs consistent with body dysmorphic disorder, BDD, characterized by preoccupation with perceived physical flaws and repeated cosmetic procedures. BDD often co-occurs with obsessive-compulsive traits, anxiety, and childhood abuse. While often joked about, Jackson's situation was far from superficial. He suffered from vitiligo, an autoimmune condition that causes the loss of skin pigment, leaving patchy white areas. He also struggled with lupus, which can cause hair loss and lesions on the face. His autopsy confirmed extensive vitiligo and numerous scars from plastic surgery. Contrary to popular belief, Jackson did not bleach his skin to change race. He used skin-bleaching creams to even out the white patches, a medical treatment for vitiligo. His makeup artist and family have stated that he had to treat his skin to look natural due to the disease. During their 1993 sit-down with Oprah Winfrey, Jackson denied rumors that he had been bleaching his skin and claimed that vitiligo was the reason for its lightening. "It is something I cannot help," he explained. "When people make up stories that I don't want to be who I am, it hurts me." The singer's autopsy report confirmed that he had the chronic disorder, which caused white patches on his chest, abdomen, face, and arms. When viewed through this lens, his surgeries, the nose jobs, the chin cleft, the tattoos for his hairline and lips, appear less like vanity and more like a desperate attempt to maintain control over a body that felt broken. Psychoanalyst Bethany Marshall noted that one of the most powerful drivers of his physical transformation was a desire to not resemble his father, Joe Jackson. He had a disgust for his father. Jackson biographer Randall Sullivan told ABC News the performer saw himself as a real-life Peter Pan, going so far as to have plastic surgery to copy the character's look. He eventually gave himself the nose of the boy. The young actor, Bobby Driscoll, who was the model for Peter Pan in Walt Disney's movie, Sullivan said. He told his biographer that he had altered his nose and chin, but that was all. This was a half-truth. He did not admit to a plastic surgery addiction, but the evidence of his ongoing procedures suggests a man in search of an ideal, an unreal, flawless, ageless face. His obsession with youth extended into his profound fear of physical decline. He admired Fred Astaire, but was heartbroken to learn that the legendary dancer had said that, in his old age, if he attempted a spin, he would fall flat on his face. Jackson did not want to become that person. Jane Fonda, who became friends with Jackson in the 1980s, revealed a chilling anecdote about his fear of mortality. When she pointed out the place on her ranch where she wanted to be buried, Jackson had a meltdown. She recalled, "The notion that I could countenance the fact that I was going to die was an anathema to him," he screamed. And he talked about how he would get into an oxygen tank, and he thought that was going to keep him alive forever. Fonda concluded that growing old would have been very, very, very difficult for Michael. There were a lot of demons chasing that kid. He identified with figures like James Dean, who will always remain a mystery, or Marilyn Monroe, who died before they got old and ugly. He seemed to believe that for a star, it was better to leave the world in a blaze of glory than to fade into mediocrity. This fear was not just about looks. It was about physical capability. He could not envision himself as a slowed-down elderly man. Rabbi Bowditch noted that he had a broken soul, and that the rigors of performance and the pressures of his comeback tour, This Is It, were overwhelming him. He once told an interviewer that he did not want a long life, stating, "I don't want to grow old." It is a haunting passage when I say, "You're not serious that you don't want to grow old?" Michael paused, and it's one of the only times he paused during our interviews, and said, "You're asking me an interesting question. Yes, I want to see my children, Prince and Paris, grow old." Well, meaning they were the only things keeping him alive. But I can't see myself growing old. The financial strain of his final years cannot be ignored. He was reportedly over $500 million in debt and had signed a contract for 50 grueling shows at London's O2 Arena. The pressure was immense. He had to perform, but his health was failing. In desperation, he turned to drugs like propofol to induce sleep, which ultimately ended his life. It is here that his fear of aging intersects with his addiction and his death. He couldn't sleep, he couldn't stop, and he couldn't bear the thought of failing his fans or facing the embarrassment of an aging, broken body on stage. Court testimony revealed that Jackson had used propofol dating back to the 1990s. In 1997, German doctors administered the anesthetic to help him sleep between shows in Munich. A few years later, he requested propofol from a dental anesthesiologist who refused, and another doctor testified that Jackson kept a box of propofol in his bedroom at Neverland Ranch. The final months of his life saw Murray administering propofol nightly, buying it in bulk, even though it is not meant to be used outside operating rooms. The tragedy of Michael Jackson is that his fear of aging became a self-fulfilling prophecy. He tried to stop time by changing his face, building a fantasy world, and pushing his body to its limits. But you cannot stop time. In refusing to accept aging, he rejected the natural progression of life itself. He clung to a childhood that had been taken from him and feared an old age he never got to see. He remains frozen in time, the king of pop, the boy who never grew up, and the man who was terrified to look in the mirror.